Hey everybody. So in the garage we have a Frigidaire stand-up freezer. Not much to say about it. It's a pretty tall model. It's maybe up to my chest or so. It doesn't work, obviously. I found it at the curb. Looked fairly new. I mean, the plastic was still on the door and everything, still had the Energy Star guide. There was some bird poop on there, so I took the plastic off. There's a couple dents in here, but it's not too bad. Overall, seems like a decent unit. I'm guessing that it probably does not have a defrost cycle because I don't see any mechanism for a defrost. It looks like it has a mechanical thermostat with a control right here. Let's plug it in. I'll show you that it doesn't work. 1, 2, 3. Nothing's happening. I have my suspicions as to what's going on, but we'll go through it together. So if I turn this thermostat, nobody's home. Oops, and this thing comes out too, lovely. So let's get into it. Again, I have some suspicions as to what the problem may be. Might as well share them with you, actually. Got a pretty basic refrigeration setup. You just got a standalone R600A compressor down here. The condenser coil is built into the unit. The evaporator coil is obviously inside the cabinet. No fans anywhere, so this is super simple, super cheap. The compressor is also a no-name. It's Ukon, I don't even know what that is. That's not even a word, unless there's, yeah, I can't read. I have to get up closer to get my glasses on. Anyway, the reason why I think I know what's going on, when I picked this thing up, I plugged it in. I cheated a little bit before I turned the camera on. I plugged it in. It did work briefly. So it ran, it cooled, froze a cup of water inside, and then all of a sudden it stopped. It didn't start up again. So that tells me that the refrigeration circuit is okay. It has refrigerant. I confirmed when I plugged it in that first time that this line, the discharge line, got warm. The return line coming back over here was cold. So that kind of, that should be the suction line, right? Where the heck is it? Yeah, right here. The suction line got cold, which is good. That tells me the refrigeration circuit does work. That kind of narrows down the problem to something electrical. Could be the start components, but again, I don't think it is. It started just fine. I didn't hear any delay. I don't hear the overload tripping when I plug it in, which is typical when the start components go bad. So I think the problem here is the thermostat. We're going to confirm that. It took me some time looking at this thing to just figure out where the thermostat is. So recall that little cover on the back here for the temperature adjuster. That actually has a rod that goes all the way the length of this unit, and the thermostat's right behind here. Let's take this cover off and see if we can get access to it. What we can do is we can jump out the thermostat to confirm it is actually the problem. And these thermostats are really simple, these mechanical ones. All they do is they have a little sensing bulb that's filled with refrigerant, and the pressure inside of that will change with temperature. And all that does is it flips a mechanical contact inside this thermostat. So what can happen is the refrigerant inside of here can leak out. There can be problems with the actual mechanical contacts inside, but the way to confirm that it is the thermostat is to simply just jump it out. So we'll just unhook this thing. So looking at the wiring diagram right here, we have line coming from the power cord going up to the thermostat, other line going to the compressor start component. So really these wires are both hot, and all that thermostat does is break the hot leg. So let's take these wires off. Let's unplug the unit first. Wow, I almost got into there with it plugged in. That would not ruin my day, but it would certainly wake me up. Let's yank these wires off. And now what we'll do is we'll take a jumper wire, just using a piece of number 12 wire. Doesn't need to be number 12, but it just happens to fit here pretty nicely. And we'll jump these out. Make sure we're not grounded out on something, and let me get you guys down. I'll plug it in. You can listen for the compressor to start. All right, here we go. Plug it in now. Hopefully you can hear that compressor running. So thermostat is definitely our problem. No amount of adjusting makes it actually work. So let's see if we can fix this thing. Before we get into that, just to go through with you again the checks that I did when I got this thing and plugged in, and it did run like this. You want to feel this line. It should be warm to the touch after the compressor has been running for a bit, and it is. So that tells me that the compressor is actually doing its job. It's compressing gas. So it's taking the low pressure gas refrigerant, compressing it into a high pressure gas to be sent to the condenser coil on the sides of the unit on, I believe, the right over here and the left over there. So the sides should get warm. And after some amount of runtime, probably not yet, this suction line should be cool. It's not quite yet, but give it time. Another way to confirm that the problem is actually a thermostat is you can use a multimeter. So at room temperature, these contacts should be closed, completing a circuit. And they are not, for one reason or another. The reason doesn't really matter all that much. So that's that. Time to rip this thermostat out. We don't need the multimeter anymore. A new one did arrive. It does appear to be some kind of clone of a clone. Not the exact model, but I'm hoping it'll work. It was only $6. Leave a link in the description. Made in China new. So the one that's in here right now is a, I don't have my glasses on, I think it's WPFE 30 something. This one is not quite that, but it's similar. This is a WPF 20. So we'll give it a try and we'll see if it works. So first things first, let's get this old thermostat out of here. This tube just really passes down into the freezer compartment down below. So I'll just rip this thing out. Perhaps easier said than done, but here we go. Does not want to come out of there. There's some kind of weird white jacket on it. I might have to cut it. Yeah, I think we're going to end up cutting it. There's probably a tiny bit of refrigerant in there, but don't let that scare you. Let me go ahead and cut it on the inside here. Yeah, there's a very, very small amount of refrigerant. So I just cut this tube with a pair of side cutters. Hopefully it'll come out easier. This jacket, the white jacket, is what was holding it up. Now it comes out easily. So let's take off this ground wire. This thing's all chalky and gross. What if that's our problem? I should be wearing gloves. Let's try that again. There we go. So there's that long plastic tube I was telling you about. Full of water, oddly enough. And here's our old thermostat. Let's get this thing out of here. Well, just for giggles, let's do a continuity test on the new thermostat and make sure we do have, yeah. So same test, just got the probes across these two leads and you hear the meter going like crazy. So this new thermostat in theory should be good. I have no idea what temperature it's set to or exactly what range it supports, so that'll be left as an exercise to the user or us. So I'm just going to uncoil this probe here. Be careful, there is refrigerant in here. Or maybe not refrigerant, some kind of gas that changes state. Probably is refrigerant. Just be gentle with it. Let's just feed it through the tube the old one came out of. Should feed pretty easily. Just need to guide it a little bit. That's good enough for now. We'll hook up our ground lead here. Hook up our hot and our neutral. It doesn't matter which one goes on which terminal. Let's get this long rod back in there. I'm not going to go too nuts trying to adjust this because it, you know, the temperature setting. I just want to make sure the thing runs, and let's see what temperature it gets to. So let's plug it in. One, two, three. It is running. I can hear it. Let's leave it like this. Let's see. It's about 10 after 5. Let's see how long it takes to get to temperature. I think I'll just come back in maybe an hour or two and just see what things look like then. It's just over an hour later. It's almost maybe 6:20 or so. I don't hear the compressor running, so I'm kind of going to assume that it's satisfied at this point. So let's check the temperature inside the freezer. So I have a thermocouple hooked up to a fluke meter, so it's 71.8 degrees in the garage. I did put a glass of water there too, so we can tell when it freezes. Let's just dunk this thing in there real quick. Cooling off. Let this settle down for a minute. Looks like it might settle somewhere in the 30s. That's not going to work for a freezer, so I'll have to make this thing colder. So I'll turn the adjustment dial to its maximum coldness, but I think we're going to have to adjust the thermostat itself. Crank that thermostat all the way down. Let's see how low we're at now. Okay, that's pretty cold. We don't necessarily need to be that cold. I think I'll dial it back a bit. I usually like to get the freezer somewhere between like 10 degrees and 0 degrees. We're a little too cold right now. My apologies. I did some research online after posting what I said about the ideal freezer temperature, and I was mistaken. It seems like guidelines say you want it around 0 or 0 degrees Fahrenheit, or perhaps even as low as -10. So forget what I said earlier. Now with this thermostat, I've got things dialed in about -4 Fahrenheit, which is perfectly fine. If you can't get there with the thermostat that you have, there is usually an adjustment screw. I'll show you what it looks like on the old one. It's buried in there. It's a little Phillips head screw. To make the fridge colder, or freezer colder, just dial that out. Loosen that screw a little bit at a time, maybe an eighth to a quarter of a turn at a time. What that'll do is that'll make the temperature range of the thermostat lower. So I lowered this maybe about maybe a quarter to a half a turn, and that's kind of where we're sitting right now. So I'm pretty happy with this. I think that might be it. Just got to button things back up. All right, we got everything back together, got this cover plate bolted back up, thermostat's bolted in, and the fridge is running and holding temperature. Pretty easy fix on this one. Again, the model number is EFR F694, made by Frigidaire, but I think it's really bought by Frigidaire from somebody else. But anyway, if you found this video helpful, please subscribe, stay safe, and thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.